Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main viewing deck of Nexus Prime Space Station and watched alien warships arrive from across the galaxy. Each ship was bigger and more impressive than the last. The Krillian battlecruiser looked like a giant metal beast with sharp edges and glowing red lights. The Zephyrian energy vessel seemed to be made of pure light that changed colors as it moved. The Valdorian mineship was a perfect silver sphere that hurt to look at directly. Then there was the human transport ship. It looked like a small gray box next to the alien vessels. Jake felt his stomach twist as he heard alien voices laughing behind him. He did not need to turn around to know they were laughing at Earth's tiny ship. "Look at that pathetic human craft," said a deep voice that sounded like grinding rocks. Jake recognized it as Commander Vextar, the leader of the Krillian warriors. "It is smaller than our escape pods." More laughter filled the viewing deck. Jake kept his face calm, but his hands made fists at his sides. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez and Sergeant Kevin Blake stood beside him. Amy's jaw was tight with anger. Kevin stared straight ahead, trying to ignore the insults. "Captain Morrison," came another voice, this one smooth and cold. Jake turned to see Zefqui, the Valdorian broadcaster who would cover the tournament. "I am preparing my opening report for the Galactic News Networks. Would you like to comment on Earth's chances in this year's competition?" Jake knew this was a trap. Zefqui wanted him to say something that would make humans look even more foolish. The purple-skinned alien's large black eyes showed no emotion, but Jake could sense the mockery underneath. "We are here to do our best," Jake said carefully. "Earth takes this tournament very seriously." "Of course you do," Zefqui replied. "Though I must ask, why does Earth continue to participate when your species has never finished better than last place? Some of my viewers wonder if humans might be better suited for support roles rather than combat." The aliens around them laughed again. Jake heard someone make a comment about humans being good at cleaning floors and carrying supplies. His face grew hot, but he kept his voice steady. "Every species has something to offer," Jake said. "Earth's soldiers train hard and fight with honor. Honor does not win battles," Commander Vextar said, stepping closer. The Krillian warrior stood 9 feet tall, covered in natural armor that looked like black metal. His 6 arms ended in razor-sharp claws that could cut through steel. Power wins battles. Speed wins battles. Technology wins battles. What do humans have? Jake looked up at the massive alien. "We have determination." The laughter that followed was louder than before. Even some of the usually quiet Etherian observers made soft whistling sounds that Jake knew meant they were amused. "Determination," Vextar repeated. "How wonderful. I'm sure the enemy will surrender when they see how determined you are." Stepped forward, her hand moving toward her weapon. Jake caught her arm and shook his head slightly. "Starting a fight here would only make things worse." "The opening ceremony begins in 2 hours," Zefqui announced to the crowd. "All species representatives should prepare for the traditional display of strength. I look forward to seeing what Earth brings to show us this year." As the aliens began to leave the viewing deck, Jake heard their comments floating back. "Perhaps the humans will juggle for us. Maybe they will show us their primitive weapons. I heard they still use chemical explosives. How quaint." When they were alone, Kevin finally spoke. "Captain, we cannot let them talk about us like that." "We let our actions speak," Jake replied. "Words are cheap. Performance matters." Amy shook her head. "But they are not wrong, are they? We have lost every competition for 3 years. Our best soldiers cannot match their worst recruits. Maybe we should not be here." Jake looked at his 2 officers. Both were excellent soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Amy was one of the smartest tactical minds in the human military. Kevin was stronger and faster than 99% of humans. But compared to the aliens, they were children playing with toys. "Earth needs to be here," Jake said. "We need to show the galaxy that humans belong in the coalition. If we quit now, they will never respect us." "Respect has to be earned," Kevin said. "How do we earn it when we cannot compete?" Jake did not have an answer. He had asked himself the same question every day for months. Earth's technology was centuries behind the aliens. Human bodies were weaker and slower than most alien species. Human minds could not match the psychic powers of the Valdorians or the energy manipulation of the Zephyrians. The three humans watched more alien ships arrive. Each one was a reminder of how far behind Earth really was. The Corvenhive ships moved like living creatures. The Nexari crystal vessels seemed to be grown rather than built. The Thorian war machines looked like they could destroy planets. The opening ceremony will be broadcast to every world in the galaxy, Amy said quietly. Billions of beings will watch us fail again. Then we fail with dignity, Jake replied. We show them that humans do not give up. But even as he said the words, Jake wondered if dignity was enough. Earth had joined the Galactic Defense Coalition. 3 years ago, with high hopes, humanity had dreamed of taking their place among the stars as equals. Instead, they had become the galaxy's favorite joke. The viewing deck began to fill with alien officials preparing for the ceremony. Jake recognized representatives from dozens of species, each one more impressive than the last. The Krillians looked like living weapons. The Zephyrians glowed with internal energy. The Valdorians moved with the confidence of beings who could read minds, and then there were the humans. 3 ordinary people in simple uniforms, representing a small blue planet that most of the galaxy had never heard of 3 years ago. Jake straightened his shoulders and checked his uniform. In 2 hours, the ceremony would begin. Earth would once again try to prove they belonged. And once again, the galaxy would probably laugh, but they would keep trying. That was what humans did. They never gave up even when everyone expected them to fail. Come on, Jake said to his officers. Let's go prepare for the ceremony. Time to show them what Earth is made of. Amy and Kevin nodded, though neither looked confident. They left the viewing deck together, walking past groups of aliens who barely noticed them. Just 3 more humans who would soon provide entertainment for the galaxy. Jake hoped they were wrong. But deep down, he feared they were right. The tournament arena was a massive dome filled with thousands of alien spectators. Jake Morrison sat in the competitors section with Amy Rodriguez and Kevin Blake around them. Warriors from dozens of species prepared for their matches. The humans looked small and plain compared to the others. First event is strength testing, announced Zefqui, the Valdorian broadcaster. His voice echoed through the arena. Each species will send their strongest warrior to lift the gravity weights. Kevin Blake stood up. He was the strongest human in their group, with muscles built from years of training. I can do this, he said, but his voice sounded uncertain. Jake watched Kevin walk to the center of the arena. The gravity weights were metal blocks that could be adjusted to weigh as much as a small building. The test was simple: lift the weight and hold it for 10 seconds. The first competitor was a Thorian, the rock-like being picked up a weight that would crush a human instantly. The crowd cheered as the Thorian held it above his head with ease. The next was a Corvenhive warrior. Its 4 arms lifted an even heavier weight without effort. Then came Fakemur, a Krillian champion. The 9-foot-tall warrior approached the heaviest weight available. His black armor gleamed under the arena lights. His 6 arms flexed as he grabbed the weight. The crowd fell silent. Fakemur lifted the weight that weighed more than a human spaceship. He held it steady for 30 seconds, far longer than required. The arena erupted in cheers. Aliens jumped to their feet, roaring approval. Incredible, Zefqui announced. The Krillian champion sets a new record. Kevin stepped forward. The Weightmaster, a floating jellyfish-like creature, adjusted the gravity weight to human levels. Even at its lowest setting, the weight was enormous by human standards. Kevin had trained for months to prepare for this moment. He bent down and grabbed the weight. His muscles strained as he tried to lift it. For a moment, it seemed like he might succeed. The weight rose a few inches off the ground. Then Kevin's strength gave out. The weight crashed back down and Kevin stumbled backward. The arena fell. Silent for a moment, then scattered laughter began. It grew louder as Kevin tried again and failed. The human competitor seems to be having difficulty, Zefqui said, in a tone that was trying to sound polite but came across as mocking. Perhaps the weight is too heavy for his species. Kevin's face turned red with embarrassment and anger. He tried one more time, putting everything he had into the lift. The weight barely moved. More laughter filled the arena. "That is enough," the weight master announced. The human competitor scores 0 points. Kevin walked back to his seat with his head down. Jake put a hand on his shoulder, but Kevin shrugged it off. "Next event is combat tactics," HFY announced. "Each species will send a commander to face our tactical simulation." Amy Rodriguez stood up. She was one of the smartest military minds Earth had ever produced. She had studied every known alien battle strategy and spent years preparing for this moment. The tactical simulation was a holographic battle, where the commander had to defeat enemy forces using strategy and quick thinking. Amy entered the simulation chamber as the crowd watched on giant screens. Her opponent was a Zephyrian commander named Veltar. The energy being glowed with blue light and moved like liquid electricity. The simulation began with both commanders controlling small armies. Amy used every tactic she knew. She set ambush, used terrain to her advantage, and coordinated complex attacks. For a while, it looked like she might have a chance. Her forces moved with precision and discipline, but Veltar had abilities Amy could not match. The Zephyrian could process information faster than any human brain. He could see patterns Amy missed and react to her moves before she finished making them. His energy powers let him boost his holographic forces in ways that seemed impossible. The battle lasted 12 minutes. Amy fought bravely and cleverly, but she was outmatched. Veltar's forces surrounded her army and destroyed it completely. The simulation ended with Amy's forces defeated. "An interesting attempt," HFY commented. The human commander showed creativity, but lacked the processing power needed for advanced tactics. Amy walked out of the simulation chamber looking frustrated. She had done her best, but her best was not good enough. The aliens in the crowd seemed bored, like they had expected this outcome. "Technology demonstration is next," HFY announced. "Each species will display their most advanced military equipment." Jake knew this would be the worst event for humans. Earth's technology was primitive compared to alien innovations. But they had to try. The humans brought out their best weapons and equipment. Jake demonstrated a plasma rifle that could cut through steel. Amy showed off a tactical computer that could coordinate troop movements. Kevin displayed body armor that could stop bullets. The crowd watched politely but without interest. When the Krillians showed weapons that could destroy buildings, the crowd cheered. When the Zephyrians displayed energy shields that could stop any attack, aliens jumped to their feet. When the Valdorians demonstrated mind-controlled drones, the arena shook with applause. The human technology looked like stone tools compared to alien innovations. Jake felt embarrassed as he put away their equipment. Everything they had brought was thousands of years behind what the aliens used every day. "Thank you to all species for their demonstrations," HFY announced. Scoring for Day 1 shows the Krillians in first place, followed by the Zephyrians and Valdorians. Humans are in last place with 0 points. The crowd began to leave the arena. Jake heard comments as aliens walked past. "Did you see the human try to lift that weight? I thought he might cry. Their technology is so primitive. Do they still use wheels to move things? Why do they keep coming to these tournaments? It is embarrassing." Jake, Amy, and Kevin sat alone in the competitor section as the arena emptied. None of them spoke for a long time. "Maybe they are right," Amy finally said. "Maybe we do not belong here." 3 years of this," Kevin added. 3 years of being the galaxy's joke." Jake looked at his officers. Both were excellent soldiers who had given everything they had. It was not their fault that humans were weaker and less advanced than other species. "We knew this would be hard," Jake said. "Earth is new to the galaxy. We are still learning." "Learning what?" Kevin asked. "How to fail better." Jake did not have an answer. He watched the last few aliens leave the arena. Tomorrow would bring more events and more failures. The humans would try their best and lose again. The galaxy would laugh and make jokes about Earth's weakness, but they would keep trying. That was what humans did. Even when everyone expected them to fail, they kept fighting. Jake stood up and straightened his uniform. "Come on," he said. "Let's go prepare for tomorrow. We still have 4 days left." Amy and Kevin followed him out of the arena. They walked past groups of aliens who barely noticed them. Just 3 more humans who would soon provide more entertainment for the galaxy, but Jake refused to give up. Earth was counting on them. Humanity's future in the galaxy depended on proving they belonged. Even if it seemed impossible, they would keep trying. The galaxy had not seen everything humans could do. Not yet. Jake Morrison was eating breakfast alone in the human quarters when Amy Rodriguez ran in. Her face was excited and worried at the same time. "Captain, there is someone here to see you," she said. "Another human just arrived on the station." Jake looked up from his food. "Another human? That is impossible. Earth only sent 3 of us." "I know, but he is here. He says his name is Danny Park and he wants to talk to you." Jake followed Amy through the corridors of Nexus Prime. The space station was buzzing with activity as the tournament entered its 3rd day. Alien warriors practiced in training rooms while reporters interviewed champions from yesterday's events. They found Danny Park waiting in the main lobby. He was not what Jake expected. The man looked ordinary in every way. He was average. Height, maybe 5 feet 10 inches. He had a lean build, like a runner rather than a soldier. His black hair was cut short and neat. He wore simple, black clothes that looked more like casual wear than military gear. "Captain Morrison," Danny said, standing up. His voice was calm and quiet. "Thank you for meeting with me." "Who are you?" Jake asked. Earth's military did not send anyone else to this tournament. Danny smiled slightly. "I am a cultural specialist from the Pacific Northwest. I study traditional combat methods and their applications in modern warfare." Amy frowned. "Cultural specialist? What does that have to do with the tournament?" "I have been watching the broadcasts," Danny said. "I saw yesterday's events. I think I can help." Jake studied the man more carefully. Danny stood very still, but there was something about the way he held himself that seemed different. He looked relaxed, but Jake sensed he was ready to move instantly. "If needed, help how?" Jake asked. "I would like to enter the free-form combat division," Danny said. "The event where fighters can use any skills from their homeworld." Kevin Blake, who had been listening from nearby, laughed. "Are you crazy? Did you see what happened yesterday? The aliens are too strong and too fast. We cannot compete with them." Danny looked at Kevin calmly. "Strength and speed are not the only ways to win a fight." "Then what do you suggest?" Jake asked. "Magic?" "Training," Danny said simply. "Different kinds of training than what most people know about." Jake felt frustrated. Earth's reputation was already destroyed. Adding another fighter who would lose badly would only make things worse. "Look, Mr. Park, I appreciate you wanting to help, but this is a military tournament. These aliens are professional warriors. They have been training for war their entire lives." "So have I," Danny said. "Just in different ways." Amy stepped forward. "What kind of training are you talking about?" Danny was quiet for a moment. "My family has studied certain combat arts for many generations. Techniques that focus on using an opponent's strength against them. Methods for moving without being seen or heard. Ways to end fights quickly and quietly." "You mean like martial arts?" Kevin asked. "I took karate classes when I was a kid." "It does not work against aliens with natural armor and 6 arms." "Not karate," Danny said. "Older arts. Ones that were developed by people who had to fight enemies much bigger and stronger than themselves." Jake looked at Danny more carefully. The man seemed completely calm, even though he was surrounded by doubt and skepticism. There was something in his eyes that reminded Jake of veteran soldiers he had known. A kind of quiet confidence that came from real experience. "Even if you know some martial arts, this is not a movie," Jake said. "The aliens have advanced technology, psychic powers, and natural weapons. What could you possibly do against that?" "I would like to try," Danny said. "Unless you have other options?" Jake looked at Amy and Kevin. Both shook their heads. They had no other options. Earth's team had failed at everything so far. Their technology was primitive, Their strength was lacking and their tactics were outdated. The tournament officials will never let you enter, Amy said. You are not officially registered. I have proper military identification, Danny said, pulling out a small device. My clearance level should be sufficient. Jake took the device and scanned it. Danny's information appeared on the screen. His file showed he was indeed a cultural specialist with the U.S. military, but there were large sections that were classified above Jake's clearance level. Your file has a lot of blank spaces, Jake said. Some things are need to know, Danny replied. Jake handed back the device. He thought about Earth's situation. They were already the laughingstock of the galaxy. Adding another fighter who would lose could not make things much worse. The free-form combat division is tomorrow, Jake said. The rules allow any fighting style or technique from a species' homeworld. No weapons, no armor, no technology. Just natural abilities. That sounds perfect, Danny said. You do not understand, Kevin said. The other fighters are monsters. Thakmar, the Krillian champion, is 9 feet tall with 6 arms and claws that can cut through steel. His skin is like natural armor. How do you fight something like that? Carefully, Danny said. Jake made his decision. I will try to get you registered, but I want you to understand something. This tournament is being broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of beings will watch. If you lose badly, it will hurt Earth's reputation even more. I understand, Danny said. And if you are? Just some martial arts enthusiast who thinks he can take on alien warriors, you could get seriously hurt or killed. Danny's expression did not change. I appreciate your concern, Captain, but I know what I am doing. Jake looked at the man again. There was something about Danny that he could not quite identify. The way he moved, the way he spoke, the way he seemed to notice everything around him without obviously looking. It reminded Jake of Special Forces soldiers he had known, but somehow different. All right, Jake said. I will talk to the tournament officials, but you better not be wasting our time, Danny nodded. Thank you, Captain. I will not let Earth down. As they walked toward the tournament registration office, Jake wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. Earth's reputation was already damaged. Adding another fighter who would lose might be the final blow to humanity's standing in the galaxy, but something about Danny made Jake curious. The man seemed completely confident despite knowing what he was up against. Either he was delusional or he knew something that Jake did not. Within an hour, Danny was registered for the free-form combat division. The tournament officials seemed amused by the idea of another human fighter. They made jokes about Earth sending reinforcements and wondered if Danny would last longer than 30 seconds. As news of the new human fighter spread through the station, aliens began placing bets on how quickly he would lose. The odds were heavily against Danny, with some bookmakers offering 1,000 to 1 payouts for anyone brave enough to bet on the human. Jake watched Danny prepare for his match. The man did not seem nervous at all. He sat quietly in the corner, eyes closed, breathing slowly and deeply. He looked like he was meditating rather than preparing for combat. Tomorrow would bring another chance for Earth to prove itself. Jake hoped Danny was not just another disappointment waiting to happen. The galaxy was watching, and Earth could not afford any more failures. The arena was packed with more aliens than Jake Morrison had ever seen. Word had spread about the new human fighter, and every species wanted to watch what they expected would be another humiliating defeat for Earth. The betting screens showed odds of 1,000 to 1 against Danny Park. Danny stood in the fighter preparation area, still wearing his simple black clothes. He had no armor, no weapons, and no visible equipment. Next to him, other fighters looked like walking tanks covered in technology and natural weapons. Last chance to back out? Jake said quietly. Nobody would blame you. Danny opened his eyes and looked at Jake. I appreciate the concern, Captain, but this is what I came here to do. Amy Rodriguez checked her tablet. The medical team is standing by. They have never had to treat a human for injuries this severe before. I will be fine, Danny said. He stood up and stretched, moving like a cat waking from a nap. Trust me. Kevin. Blake shook his head. I still think this is insane. Thakmor is not just big and strong, he is a trained killer. He has won every fight he has ever been in. Everyone loses eventually, Danny said, the arena announcer. A floating creature with multiple eyes began calling the fighters to the center. Next match in the freeform combat division. Representing the Krillian Empire, champion Thakmor, winner of 47 consecutive battles, the crowd roared as Thakmor entered the arena. The 9-foot-tall warrior looked like a living weapon. His black armor was part of his natural body, grown over decades of combat. His 6 arms moved independently, each one ending in claws that could slice through metal. His red eyes glowed with confidence. Representing Earth, Danny Park, making his tournament debut. The crowd's reaction was different this time. Instead of the usual laughter, there was curious murmuring. Some aliens seemed genuinely interested to see what this new human would do. Danny walked to the center of the arena. He looked tiny compared to Thakmor. The Krillian warrior towered over him, casting a shadow that covered Danny completely. Another human to crush, Thakmor said in his grinding voice. This one looks even weaker than the others. Danny said nothing. He simply stood there, breathing calmly. ZIPH single quotes. Qui, the Valdorian broadcaster, announced the rules. Freeform combat allows any natural abilities or traditional fighting methods from each species' homeworld. No weapons, no armor, no technology. The match ends when one fighter cannot continue. The crowd fell silent. Even the betting stopped as everyone waited to see what would happen. Begin, the announcer called. Thakmor charged forward immediately. His massive form moved faster than something so large should be able to. His claws extended as he prepared to end the fight with one devastating attack. The crowd began to cheer. Expecting to see the human crushed in seconds, Danny disappeared. The arena fell completely silent. Where Danny had been standing, there was now empty space. Thakmor's claws swept through air where the human should have been. The Krillian warrior spun around, looking for his opponent. Where did he go? Someone in the crowd shouted. The arena's advanced sensors were designed to track movement in multiple dimensions. They could follow beings that moved at light speed, or existed in different phases of reality. But the sensors showed nothing. It was as if Danny had simply vanished from existence. Thakmor turned in a complete circle, his red eyes scanning the arena. Coward, he growled. Show yourself. For 30 seconds, the arena appeared to contain only one confused Krillian warrior. The crowd began to whisper among themselves. Some aliens stood up, trying to get a better view of the empty space where Danny had been. Then Danny reappeared behind Thakmor. The human seemed to materialize out of thin air, as if he had been invisible. He was perfectly positioned between Thakmor's shoulder blades, where the Krillian's 6 arms could not reach. Before Thakmor could react, Danny moved with fluid precision. His hands found specific points on the Krillian's armor, pressing in ways that seemed impossible. The natural armor that had protected Thakmor for decades suddenly seemed to offer no resistance. Thakmor tried to spin around, but his body would not respond properly. Danny's fingers had found nerve clusters that the Krillian did not even know existed. The warrior's massive strength became useless as his own nervous system worked against him. What is happening? Thakmor roared, but his voice was weaker now. Danny moved like water, flowing around the Krillian's desperate attempts to grab him. Each movement was precise and purposeful. He used Thakmor's own momentum against him, turning the warrior's strength into a weakness. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the human demonstrated abilities they had never seen before. Danny seemed to predict every move Thakmor would make before the Krillian made it. He flowed around attacks that should have been impossible to avoid. He is not fighting the Krillian, Amy whispered from the stands. He is fighting the Krillian's own body. Danny's hands moved to different points on Thakmor's armor. Each touch seemed to shut down another part of the warrior's ability to fight. The Krillian's claws retracted against his will. His arms became heavy and slow. This is impossible, Thakmor gasped. No being can do this. Danny finally spoke, his voice calm and quiet. Your armor has weak points. Your nervous system has pressure points. Your balance has a center. Everything has a weakness if you know how to find it. The Krillian warrior, who had seemed unstoppable moments before, slowly sank to his knees. His body was shutting down in ways he could not understand or control. He was not injured, but he could not move. I surrender, Thakmer said, his voice barely audible. The arena was completely silent for a long moment. Then one alien began to clap. Another joined in. Within seconds, the entire arena was erupting in cheers and amazement. Danny stepped back and helped Thakmer to his feet. The Krillian warrior's systems were already returning to normal, but his red eyes showed something they had never shown before: respect. What are you? Thakmer asked. Human, Danny said simply. Zefquis echoed through the arena, but for the first time the broadcaster sounded uncertain. The winner is Danny Park of Earth. I must admit, I have never seen anything like this before. Jake, Amy, and Kevin sat in the stands, their mouths open in shock. Around them, aliens were talking excitedly about what they had just witnessed. The human who had looked so ordinary had just defeated the most feared warrior in the galaxy. How did he do that? Kevin asked. I do not know, Jake replied. But I think we are about to find out what Earth really has to offer. Danny walked toward the exit of the arena. He moved with the same calm confidence he had shown from the beginning. To him, this had not been a miracle or an impossible victory. It had simply been what he was trained to do. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. And Danny Park was just getting started. Within hours of Danny Park's victory, everything changed for the human team. Jake Morrison woke up to find his communication device flooded with messages from alien military leaders across the galaxy. Requests for meetings, invitations to conferences, and offers of partnership filled his inbox. Captain, Amy Rodriguez said, rushing into his quarters, you need to see this. She handed him a tablet showing galactic news feeds. Every major network was covering Danny's fight. The headlines were incredible. Human warrior defeats Krillian champion using unknown techniques. Earth's secret fighting arts revealed in stunning victory. The galaxy underestimated humanity's hidden abilities. Jake read the reports with amazement. The same news networks that had mocked Earth for 3 years were now praising human ingenuity and skill. Commentators who had laughed at human weakness were now analyzing Danny's movements frame by frame. Look at this, Amy said, pointing to another headline. 3 more species have challenged Danny to fights. They want to test their warriors against his techniques. Jake found Danny in the training area, sitting quietly and meditating. The man looked exactly the same as when he had arrived, calm, ordinary, and completely relaxed. Danny, Jake said, half the galaxy wants to fight you, and the other half wants to hire you. How do you feel about that? Danny opened his eyes and smiled slightly. I expected it. Bullies always want to test themselves against someone who beats their champion. Are you going to accept the challenges? A few of them, Danny said. It would be good to show that yesterday was not luck. Over the next 3 days, Danny fought representatives from 5 different alien species. Each fight was completely different from the last, and each one ended with Danny victorious against Veltar, the Zephyrian energy commander. Danny demonstrated how traditional meditation techniques could create mental barriers that confused energy-based attacks. The Zephyrian's lightning-fast strikes seemed to bend around Danny as if he existed in a different space, facing Kek's mind. A Valdorian psychic warrior, Danny showed how centuries of mental discipline could block telepathic intrusion. The Valdorian tried to read Danny's thoughts and control his actions, but found only calm emptiness where a mind should be when he fought Gorak. A massive Thorian stone warrior, Danny used the alien's own weight and momentum against him. The 12-foot-tall creature who could crush steel with his bare hands found himself thrown to the ground by movements that seemed impossible. Each victory was more impressive than the last. The aliens began to realize that Danny was not just lucky or skilled. He represented something they had never encountered before. How do you do it? Thakmer asked after watching Danny's fight with the Thorian. The Krillian champion had become Fascinated by human fighting techniques, Danny was sitting with Jake, Amy, and Kevin in the human quarters. Several alien warriors had asked to join them, something that would have been unthinkable a week earlier. My ancestors lived on a world where they had to fight enemies much bigger and stronger than themselves, Danny explained. They developed techniques that used intelligence instead of strength. They learned to hide in shadows, to move without sound, to find weaknesses in any opponent. But how did you disappear in the arena? Asked Silvera, a graceful Etherian observer. Our sensors could not find you. Danny smiled. I did not disappear. I simply moved in a way your sensors were not designed to detect. There are spaces between. Spaces, moments between moments. My people learned to use them. Commander Vexstar, the Krillian leader who had mocked Earth at the beginning of the tournament, leaned forward. You speak of your people as if they were all warriors like you. Not all, Danny said, but many. Earth developed in isolation for thousands of years. We had to fight each other to survive. We created hundreds of different fighting styles, ways of thinking, methods of solving problems. What you have seen is just one small part of what humans can do. The aliens in the room exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that they had seriously underestimated humanity. Your species shows great diversity, Veltar said. Each human we have met thinks and acts differently. This is unusual in the galaxy. Most species we encounter are more uniform, added Kexmind. They develop one way of doing things and stick to it. But humans seem to have developed many different ways. Jake felt a surge of pride. Earth has many different cultures, climates, and challenges. We had to adapt to survive in all of them. This explains much, Commander Vexstar said. We assumed human weakness was universal. We did not consider that human diversity might be a strength. Danny nodded. Every human comes from a different background. We have warriors trained in dozens of fighting styles. We have scientists who approach problems from completely different angles. We have artists who see the world in ways no one else does, and you have soldiers who can think like any of them, Amy added. Finally understanding what made Danny special. The tournament ended with Danny being offered the position of Director of Unconventional Warfare for the entire Galactic Defense Coalition. The same alien leaders who had laughed at Earth's weakness now wanted to learn everything humans could teach them. Jake stood in the same viewing deck where he had watched alien ships arrive a week earlier. But now, instead of mockery, he heard respect in the conversations around him. I hear Earth is opening a military academy, one alien was saying. They will teach human fighting techniques to other species. The Coalition wants to establish exchange programs, another replied. Send our warriors to Earth to learn and bring human instructors to our worlds. Danny joined Jake at the viewing window. How do you feel about all this? Jake asked. It is a good start, Danny said. But this is just the beginning. The galaxy is about to learn that humans have much more to offer than fighting skills. What do you mean? Danny smiled. Wait until they discover human music, human food, human stories. Wait until they learn about human art, human science, human philosophy. Fighting is just one thing we do well, Jake laughed. You think they will be as impressed by our cooking as they are by your fighting? More impressed, Danny said. Anyone can learn to fight. But can you imagine a Krillian trying to understand human humor? Or a Valdorian trying to appreciate human poetry? Amy and Kevin joined them at the window. Both looked happier than they had in months. So what happens now? Kevin asked. Jake looked out at the alien ships preparing to leave Nexus Prime. Many of them would be heading to Earth, carrying diplomats and military observers eager to learn about human capabilities. Now we go home, Jake said. And we prepare to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of. Danny nodded. The tournament was just the introduction. The real work starts now. As their ship prepared for the journey back to Earth, Jake composed his report to military headquarters. Instead of another message about failure and disappointment, he wrote something he had never expected to send. Mission accomplished. The galaxy is finally ready to learn what humanity has to offer. recommend immediate expansion of cultural and military exchange programs. Earth's isolation is officially over. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. Danny Park had made sure of that. And this was just the beginning of what humans could achieve among the stars.